And the question of the day is, what you are losing by staying where you are? Welcome my friends. My name is Fred. Here we talk about business, investments, real life and training, all from my personal perspective. And today, it's real life. But before answering it, we need to clarify something important. In which area of life are we talking about? Because staying where you are can mean very different things depending on the context. Let's start with an example from training. If you are physically in the same place, same gym, same sport, same routine, but you keep training, improving and evolving, are you really staying where you are? I don't think so. You might be in the same environment, but you are still moving forward. So, staying in the same place doesn't automatically mean stagnation. The real question is, are you standing still or are you growing inside that place? Now, let me bring this to the professional side. In my case, I work with construction projects, and one of the hardest things in this line of work is the period between projects. You finish one project, but you haven't sold it yet, or the market isn't good enough to start the next one. So technically, you are stopped. And that creates a very strong feeling that you are losing something by staying where you are. But at the same time, you can't just sell for any price. You can't just rush in the next project without conditions being right. So you get stuck in a difficult balance. You feel like you are not moving, but sometimes waiting is actually the smartest decision. This shows how complicated things this question really is. Because sometimes staying where you are is stagnation. And sometimes staying where you are is a strategy. In relationships, this question becomes even more complex. Many times, when you stay where you are in a relationship, you might stop paying attention. And I honestly think this happens more often with men. We have a natural tendency to get comfortable, to assume everything's fine, to stop observing what is happening on the other side. And then suddenly, one day, you wake up and realize things have been falling apart for a long time. You just didn't notice. So, in relationships, staying where you are without awareness can be very dangerous. But on the other hand, how do you constantly evaluate this without becoming paranoid? It's not easy. I believe this question is clear for people who work as employees. You start in a position, then you get promoted. Another company calls you, new opportunities appear. There is a visible ladder. So if you stay in the exact same place for many years, you might feel very strongly that you are not evolving. But here's an important point. Sometimes that feeling is just a sensation, not necessarily reality. Real evolution not always is not always visible from the outside. Many of the most important processes of growth happen quietly, without applause, without measurable results, without dramatic changes. You don't need to live like a self-improvement coach, constantly proving that you are evolving. You know that exaggerated mentality. Wake up at 5 in the morning, follow a perfect routine, read dozens of books a year, always be grinding, always be leveling up. Life is much more complex than that. Real growth is deeper and slower, and sometimes forcing yourself into that cold style creates more anxiety than real progress. Let me give you an example I really dislike. People ask, how many books you read per year? As if the number of books you read were some kind of trophy. As if stacking books were the same as becoming wiser. Reading is not about quantity, it's about depth. You can read one powerful book in a year and reflect on it deeply and grow more than someone who speed reads 20 books. Take a classic like Crime and Punishment. How are you going to read that with speed reading techniques? That's a book that forces you to slow down, to think about life, guilt, morality, meaning. Some things require contemplation, not productivity tricks. So this obsession with constant visible evaluation can be very misleading. Here is the controversial part. Sometimes staying where you are is the best thing you can do. Not because you are afraid, not because you are lazy, but because real improvement takes time. I'm not saying you shouldn't try to get better. Of course you should. But improvement has to be real, not forced. I see a lot of artificial pressure on the internet. You must always be leveling up. If you are not changing, you are losing. Take this course of transform your life in 1 week. And honestly, most of that is a delusion. You went through a phase where people believe too much in quick fix solutions. Get rich fast. Transform your life in 30 days. Learn the secret method. Become successful overnight. I think now we are entering a phase of maturity. People are starting to realize that real change is slow, real growth difficult, real evolution is not a formula. So yes, we should always try to improve, but in a conscious, grounded way, not in a desperate, anxious way, not copying someone else's method blindly, not feeling guilty every time life slows down. I say this even from my own experience. Whenever I am between projects, I feel guilty. I feel like I should be doing more, working more, producing more, but sometimes that guilt is not wisdom. It's just pressure. So when we return to the main question, what are you losing by staying where you are? The honest answer is depends. Sometimes you lose opportunities, sometimes time, sometimes you lose growth, but other times if you are reflecting, not be losing anything at all. You might actually be gaining clarity. The real problem is not staying where you are. The real problem is staying where you are without awareness. This question doesn't have a simple answer. Life is not black and white. There are moments to move, moments to wait, moments to fight and to be patient. The important thing is not to confuse questions, confuse conscience, patient with fear, reflecting with stagnation, stability with laziness. So I leave the question with you. What are you losing by staying where you are? Think about it honestly and share your perspective in the comments. I really like to hear what you think. Thank you very much for watching, my friends, and I see you in the next video.